Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I'll tell you how Terrell Owens could be taking his on-field annex to the Hall of Fame.
I'm Colin Cowherd, and I'll tell you why LeBron to the Lakers is still very much in play. I've got this source. Speak for yourself.
Sources.
Starts now. We got a little bit of a breaking thing.
We got some great news or interesting news for sure. Hello and welcome. We're joined today by Fox NFL analyst Tony Gonzalez and former NFL head coach Eric Mangini. Let's start in Foxborough, where fans are still confused about Bill Belichick's decision to bench cornerback Malcolm Butler for the Super Bowl. With rumors flying about marijuana and missed curfews and meltdowns, Belichick hasn't actually explained the decision, but Butler denied all the reports today, saying, quote, "During Super Bowl week, I never attended any concert, missed curfew, or participated in any of the ridiculous activities being reported. They are not only false, but hurtful to me and my family." Cowherd, I think this means Belichick has to give a more detailed explanation. Do you agree?
No, this is about Bill Belichick can have the Patriots job for as long as he wants it. Malcolm Butler's leaving town, and he's a free agent. And so this, for me, this is just him saying to the league, I'm a good guy. Don't believe the crazy internet media. This is Malcolm Butler making himself about $9 million on the market instead of guys that run the Arizona Cardinals thinking, that kid went to a concert, he went this, he went that. We don't know. This is what he's saying. This is job preservation. That is commerce is what he's doing.
That is saying that Bill Belichick benched me for no freaking reason. That is saying Bill Belichick cost us a chance at the Super Bowl because he was on some power trip and decided Super Bowl week was the time to bench the guy that won us a Super Bowl before, played 98% of the snaps during the regular season, and Bill Belichick just decides just before kickoff, Malcolm Butler, you're dusted. You're going to play one play of special teams. That is calling into question Belichick's competency, what Malcolm Butler just put out. I think Belichick's got to explain it.
Okay, so in the grand scheme of things, when you're looking at this, you're going to say, okay, is Malcolm Butler's assessment of what is right defensively for the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl more accurate than what Bill Belichick thinks is right for the defensive scheme in the Super Bowl? Like, I don't think it calls into question his competency at all. And I think Bill said everything he's going to say. He appreciates his competitiveness. He appreciates the other players' feelings. But this was a coaching decision. He does not care what the court of public opinion thinks.
Yeah. I'm looking at this. First of all, I don't think he's going to explain himself, and I don't think he has to explain himself. That's one of the beautiful things that I think Belichick, the reason he's so great is because he doesn't get caught up in all the hoopla and all the circus stuff. He just does what he thinks is right, and that's win championships and go to Super Bowls. But looking at what Malcolm Butler just put out there, for me, I'm on the flip side of that, Colin, where he comes out and says, well, I'm a good guy. Please don't take that, if you're looking at me, potential free agents. To me, that just says Bill Belichick, one of the greatest defensive minds ever, said you can't play in the Super Bowl. If all that's true, and you're right, Malcolm Butler, that means you couldn't play because you just weren't good enough, whatever it is. We didn't need you because I've made the decision that you couldn't help us win. To me, if I was advising Malcolm Butler, I would say, don't say anything. You didn't need to put out that statement. Just go out and go through the back channels.
God,
I say go to the back channels, have your agent talk to the teams and say that wasn't me. Or do, I don't know. I'm just saying, because now to me that just says Bill Belichick doesn't think you were good enough to play the week of the Super Bowl.
And you know
if it wasn't about missing
But Tony,
curfew.
you know what the scoreboard said? That Bill Belichick was wrong. Because show me anywhere in the last 10 to 12 weeks where they were giving up 40-some-odd points to a backup quarterback in the damn Super Bowl. Show me where they gave up 40. Nick Foles looked like Roger Staubach and John Elway out there. And your cornerback that played 98% of the snaps in the regular season can't get one defensive snap? That to me, if what Malcolm Butler's saying is true, Bill Belichick looks stupid and petty. And it can happen to the greatest.
But Bill's not going to say any more than he's said already. And to me, there's more to this. There is more to this.
And he needs to explain it.
He doesn't need to explain it. He's said all he's going to say, but my gut says this is the tip of the iceberg of things that have happened that culminated in the decision that was made because of a lot of reasons.
But if he does not explain it, and he hasn't so far, this thing is going to spin racial, Eric, over social media and with NFL players who are addicted to social media. It's already bubbling. And so in a league that's 70% black, now we're going to have a conversation about Bill Belichick that revolves around race and a bullying coaching style and a petty coaching style. I think he needs to, and I agree with you. I guarantee you there's more to this. But he needs to explain it, or he's kicking off a war that I don't think he can win.
Well, I mean, I still think players around the league want to play for him. I mean, because you can
Not
win.
everybody wants to play for Belichick.
No, but enough.
If you
Not everybody.
Not everybody, but if you want a chance to go to the Super Bowl, you got a pretty good chance if you go there and do the right thing
Doug
that you're going to go.
could say the same thing, too.
Okay, well, we're talking about 1 versus 8,
One
17
guy's
years of
65 with a
success.
40-year-old quarterback. You know, Doug Peterson's coming into his own. He's got Carson Wentz. There's other guys. New England's got a 40-year-old quarterback. I didn't see New England winning a bunch of Super Bowls before Tom Brady. So when he goes away, I
agree, but there's going to be a market there for them.
Let's not forget, I mean, he also released a statement himself. I saw the interview of Malcolm Butler saying that he didn't live up to his standards this year. I think this was his worst year so far since he's been there.
He did not have a great year.
He didn't have a great year, and he said this himself. And so that's what I'm saying. Even more so, the reason where I got to believe Belichick, where it just wasn't good enough for the system.
Tony, 16 in the regular season, 2 in the postseason. He was good enough, and they won. He disappears. They give up 41 points, and Nick Foles looks like
if
Brady.
They would have won. Let's say that strip sack didn't happen, and Brady went down there and did what he normally does. With that much time left, I got a feeling they would have scored if they didn't get the turnover right there. Now we're looking at him probably saying, well, you know what? Maybe he's a genius.
You know what I love about him, Wes? You know what I love? If I look like you, I'd be married to Holly Berry. I don't look like you. I ain't married to Holly Berry.
Hello, everybody. Jason McIntyre here. Thank you for listening to the Speak for Yourself podcast. But I wanted to tell you about another podcast at Fox Sports that we are really excited about, and that's Alexi Lalas's State of the Union podcast. That's right. U.S. soccer legend Alexi Lalas will be partnering up with Fox soccer guru and researcher extraordinaire David Mosse to review the top storylines in soccer across the globe. Each week, Alexi will give his State of the Union on American soccer as it rebuilds for the future. So subscribe right now and listen to the first episode for free on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Now back to the show.
Well, Malcolm Butler's benching isn't the only thing that has people in New England confused, with questions swirling around Belichick's future since Sunday's Super Bowl loss to Philly. As the Boston Globe writes, quote, "The only certainty is about next year. Robert Kraft will own the team and Brady will be playing quarterback. Everything else is up for grabs. It would be tough to blame Belichick if he walked away now, as owner forced him to trade away Garoppolo, and the tension behind the scenes is very real. Whitlock, you convinced Belichick is absolutely coming back?
No, not at all. I think that Belichick and Robert Kraft and Tom Brady are going to have a pretty important meeting this offseason, I think, before Belichick knows what he's going to do. I think that the tension is real, and I think for the reasons we were discussing previously in terms of Bill Belichick wants things his way because they've been successful. He doesn't want to have to negotiate with Tom Brady, Alex Guerrero, or even Robert Kraft. And if it leads to where there's some negotiation, I think Bill Belichick's going to take his 5 Super Bowl rings and 8 Super Bowl appearances and go home. I think his behavior before this Super Bowl was different, and I thought he took time to smell the roses because I think this could be the end.
A year ago, it's ironic, he was yelling after the Super Bowl, no days off, no days off. He's not a guy that I think is going to go golf for the rest of his life. I've been 50-50 on this because I think it was a very strange year and a very strange last 2 months, helping coordinators, giving away Brissett and Garoppolo under market value. In my opinion, it was strange. But I will say this. I think I lean more he's staying than going. I think I'm now in the 60-40 staying. With a Malcolm Butler benching, do you really think this defensive icon and legend, wouldn't he have just said, what the hell, I'm leaving anyway, let's just play him?
No.
I mean, listen, if you knew it was your last game, why would you be...
He ain't breaking character.
Whoa, why would you be principled? It's your last day at school.
Because he's always...
First of all, I don't totally agree that that was a principled decision. I think there were some other things that there was a group of factors, and I would say there's 100% certainty that he's coming back. He's got 2 kids that are there right now. 2 of his sons are there. So this is a great time in his life where he can spend time with those boys that he couldn't spend when they were growing up. And they're in the industry, and he can share the things that he knows and help guide their career. And in terms of the dynamic with Robert Kraft, Bill told me when I got the head coaching job, he said, look, when you go home at the end of the day, you need to be happy with the assistant coaches. But when the owner goes home, he needs to be happy with you. So he understands the hierarchy of an organization, and he understands that, you know, there's going to be times where he's got to have give and take with Robert Kraft.
100%. That's wow. I would say 98%. I agree with you. Because I just, like I said before on the show, why would you leave the big house on the top of the mountain with all the toys and everything, the great organization, you got them where you want? I know they're having some trouble. I just feel like he's going to go out there. He's got to get it. He's going to have a sit down, just like you said, have a meeting. He's not going anywhere. He's just going to say, this is my complaints. What are we going to do about it? Because unless he wants to retire from football, period. And that's the only way he wants to get out of there. But for the reasons you said, why would he leave his kids?
Let me ask you this. Why suddenly would you give away Jacoby Brissett? By the way, Bill accumulated quarterbacks his whole life. Give him away for a bust wide receiver. Why would you give Garoppolo away for a second? Like, that's off-brand. He has always been. Bill doesn't lose a lot of deals. Those felt like.
I think the Jacoby Brissett thing. I don't get the sense that they felt like he was going to emerge into something, you know, bigger than he was. And in terms of the Garoppolo thing, to me, that is strange, and that goes back to the fact that maybe there was a disagreement and he lost the disagreement. But that's just the way it works sometimes. And you know, the idea that they're going to have some big sit-down or powwow or any of that stuff, it's not really the way it works there.
It does in the movies, though.
It would be a nice.
You don't think after the season, what owner doesn't sit down with his head coach, and then if they happen to have the greatest player of all time, doesn't make sure everything's on board with him as well? And so I don't think a sit-down, and again, you know the organization far better than I do, but for Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick and Tom Brady to sit down and after the season they just had, the stories that were leaked, the acknowledgement that there was real tension, of course they need to all get in the room and talk.
I think Bill and Robert are going to sit down, and look, that's part of any process at the end of the season. You sit with the owner and you go through the things you did well, the after-action report. But Tom Brady's not going to be in that meeting. He's not a stakeholder like that. He's still a player, and that's what makes Tom Brady great. Is he is happy and content being a player. He's not trying to insert himself into the decisions.
I don't want to put words in Cowherd's mouth, so it's just what I believe. I think Tom Brady has elevated to where he is more than just a player. Again, when your trainer has an office at the stadium, you're more than just any other player in that organization.
You would admit a couple of things, to Jason's point, are strange. Brady never did ads. He's plastered everything shy of Pizza Hut now. Brady is doing...
Compared to who? Like Peyton Manning?
Well, no, I mean...
A fraction of ads compared to Peyton.
He released a documentary during the Super Bowl. Bill did a documentary. They gave away Garoppolo. They're like gladly helping coordinators leave. It's odd. It doesn't feel like there was so much noise the last 3 weeks.
It does feel right. If there ever was the time to leave, this is probably it. Obviously, if they would have won, it probably would make it even more so going out on top. But both coordinators are gone. All this weird stuff is going on. Or it could be just maturity. They do see the window closing, and why not get that message out there? Tom Brady, he's been that way his whole career, so why not put it out towards the end of it? I was there. As you see the incoming, you start opening up a little bit more. That's what happens when you get old.
And they give a little bit to Tom Brady where they let his personal trainer in the building. The guy's got 8 Super Bowls. If he was a superstar in another organization, he'd own part of the team. Like, it's so different.
Welcome back, Tony Gonzalez, Mark Schlereth, Fox NFL analyst, joining us. Let's move to T.O., who was elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame this past weekend after 2 years of complaining. But the outspoken receiver didn't even show up to any Hall of Fame activities during Super Bowl weekend, and now it looks like he missed another event, Measurement Monday. With the NFL releasing the ring measurements of this year's Hall of Famers and T.O. appearing as a N/A. Not available? Whitlock, are you reading anything into T.O. skipping the Hall of Fame activities?
Yes, I am. That they're about to realize their worst nightmare. The worst teammate in all of sports is coming to the Hall of Fame. And he's already off to a bad start, in my view. Now, again, maybe he has some explanation and there's some justifiable reason he wasn't there. I reached out to T.O. over Twitter. We follow each other over DM and asked him, why weren't you at any of the Super Bowl or any of the events? None of your business. Again, kick rocks. Don't concern yourself too much about me. Keep kissing ass over there. That was T.O.'s response. And so,
Told you.
yeah. And so he's telling me to kick rocks. To me, he's telling his Hall of Fame class inductee, kick rocks too. Again, he left on Saturday to come back here to be in some Chris Paul Bowlers charity event. But once you get the call on Saturday, there's a private jet that will take you to Minneapolis so you can be at the Super Bowl and be with your class of inductees and start participating in things with your class. It's like pledging the fraternity. These are your line brothers. And he hasn't been a part of it. I think this is a sign he's going to continue to walk to the beat of his own drum, and this won't be pretty.
Well, I mean, he has the worst quality, for me, of anybody, neediness. I don't have needy friends. I don't like being around needy people. He's a needy guy. He's the opposite of Larry Fitzgerald. You know, I mean, he just constantly needs attention and approval. Not my kind of guy. That said, when you voted him in, you knew that. He's always been true.
What if he snubs the Hall of Fame ceremony?
Well, you know what? By the way, I know you get mad when I say this and I compare the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to the Players Hall of Fame, but players, Paul McCartney and others, missed the Hall of Fame rock and roll induction. They're rock and roll stars. He's a rock and roll star. He is a diva, needy, high-maintenance wide receiver who was really productive. Don't expect him to be a left guard.
It's not a brotherhood at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The NFL Hall of Fame is a brotherhood. Talk to the Hall of Famers.
I got news for you. Those rock and rollers all trashed hotel rooms. It's a little bit of a brotherhood. They all drank too much and partied too hard.
I would say this, you know, obviously it's disappointing. He had a commitment. Maybe he thought he wasn't going to get in. I don't know what goes through his mind. But here's the issue. If what you're trying to do is get back to the voters because you weren't a first ballot Hall of Famer, there's been two. Randy Moss and Jerry Rice at the receiver position that are first ballots. You're not in that same, like, you're a Hall of Famer, but you ain't Jerry Rice or Randy Moss. So I would say this, and he was a great player. Don't get me wrong. He's a great player. But the bottom line is, if you're trying to get back at the Hall of Fame voters, you're missing the point. The point is that you have reached rarefied air, man. You're with a group of men that laid the path before you, that made sacrifices that you don't even know about.
So that's that money.
That's the issue, is that, like, I had the great privilege of meeting one of my childhood heroes, Rocky Bleier, this weekend in Minneapolis. And you know what? I was, one, nervous. Two, I just went to Rocky and said, I just want to thank you for laying the groundwork that allowed me to play this game, and watching you as a kid growing up made me want to be a football player. It's why I'm a football player, because I follow the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the reverence I have for those guys and the reverence you should have for those guys that you're in the Hall of Fame with, I'm never getting in the Hall of Fame unless I buy a ticket. And I'm okay with that because I wasn't good enough. But doggone it, those guys sacrificed so that I could live out a childhood dream. And that's what you're missing. You want to get back at the voters because you don't like them? What you're doing is you're just hurting the guys that created, that are the reason you're there.
Yeah, but you got to remember, football teams are made up of a series of different people. Gronk can be kind of a meathead, and Brady's obsessed, and then you have a wide receiver that's funny. Your view of the world isn't T.O.'s. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, even within a family.
Would you stop?
Even within a family, personalities are different. You guys all want T.O. to be Larry Fitzgerald.
That's going to be my point on this. I mean, come on. You guys you know who T.O. is. You know what type of personality he is. He's going to tell you to kick rocks. You're going to reach out to him and try to offer an olive branch, which is what you were probably trying to do. The previous text before this one, DM.
Told him to be a good teammate.
Yeah, whatever. He doesn't care. He doesn't want to hear that from you. He got in. He feels jaded now. He's going to be, that's
By
going
the
to
way,
be T.O. This is who he is.
Why is it okay in the NBA to have flaky Wilt, needy, gregarious Magic, Kawhi Leonard doesn't talk, and we're okay with it? But all football players have to be the exact same guy.
No, they don't have to be the exact same guy. We're talking about for people that played football and love it. This getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame is like heaven on earth.
He doesn't love it. He likes it.
He liked what it could do for him.
Right.
He clearly doesn't
That's
love
okay
football.
too.
But again, when you get a chance to join the greatest of the greats of football players, your reverence for them and the reverence for the guys you're going in with should be so overwhelming that whatever bitterness you have towards the voters
Why are you
should
speaking
go away.
logically? Why are you speaking logically?
He's not
You're
logical.
speaking realistically right now.
You're asking him to be you.
No!
He doesn't love the game.
There's
He
200
likes
or
it.
300 other guys in the Hall of Fame. When Lawrence Taylor got in, Ray Lewis is one of the greatest players of all time. He's damn near in tears because he gets to join Jim Brown and these people.
He is.
But T.O.'s different. This is who he is. This is who he was when he was on the
Don't
field.
vote him in if
Why
you-
would he change now?
Yeah,
he
I mean-
said, get your popcorn ready.
T.O.
Come on, this is who he is.
Here it is, where common sense isn't always so common. and you know what? You just got to live with it.
And look, I hope that he has some legitimate excuse that why he wasn't there. But anybody else, you stop what you're doing and I got to get to Minneapolis.
Even if he
and be
has
with my guys.
even if he has a legitimate excuse, I think it'll be like Belichick. Ain't none of your business.
That's what he told me. Kick rock. All right, welcome back. We're joined now by Fox Sports radio host Doug Gottlieb and the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to the NBA, where the trade deadline is just a couple of days away, and some people have been suggesting LeBron should demand a trade from the struggling Cavaliers, but reportedly he's not going anywhere, with Yahoo's Shams Charania tweeting as NBA teams do due diligence on his no-trade clause and potential of him dropping it. LeBron James is determined to see the year through in Cleveland, focused on the season, and will not waive the clause. Cowherd, is this a mistake by LeBron?
What else is out there? This is like everybody wants their football coach fired, and it's like, who's on the market? Like, what's out there that's ideal? Are you sure?
LeBron?
Yeah, I mean, what's out there?
I don't know.
Houston?
Toronto.
Okay, well, let's slow down on Houston, because then it would be LeBron, Chris Paul, who's had some knee issues, James Harden, who's a little bit of a flake, and you and I on the bench. I mean, again, let's take a deep breath on this stuff. They've had a rough month. They're going to make the playoffs. It'll unfold. I don't think rushing.
You think they're going to make the Eastern? You think they're going to win the Eastern Conference? Still?
I think they're going to make the playoffs and win a couple series, and then we'll see how it develops.
If they're not going to make the NBA Finals, which I think a lot of people think they're not at this point, why wouldn't he move on? San Antonio, Houston, just for the end of the year to make a run at.
Everybody's got him being a ring chaser. When he went back to Cleveland, was that ring chasing?
Yes. He wanted to bring a championship to Cleveland. That is chasing a ring. And he brought Kevin Love with him. Listen, he had a rough month. Was it October, November, December, or January? Considering they're 29th in defensive efficiency. There are 30 NBA teams. If not for the Sacramento Kings, they would have the worst defense in the league. That's not 1 month. That's season-long statistics. They are a disaster at the defensive end. He's not enjoying it. No one's getting along. This is check, please. So what's out there? I don't know, but the idea that he's not even going to look, of course it's a mistake. We know how this is going to end. Badly. That's how it ended last time in Cleveland. Game 6 against the Boston Celtics. He looked out of sorts. Rumors about what's going on with his family and what's going on in that locker room. It's going to end badly. Get out now. You smell smoke, get out of the house.
All right, slow down, Doug. Listen, he built up a lot of equity going back to Cleveland. All these casual fans. LeBron, that's a great thing. He's going to now quit on the Cavs at the end of the season to go and chase a ring? You think that would – how do you think the perception would be? LeBron's got the rabbit ears. You talk about it a lot. There's no way he could do this now. He cannot quit on the team.
The perception, if you're traded, is they traded me. The perception, if you sign somewhere else in the offseason, is I left. That's the perception. Even if you waive your no-trade clause, LeBron can manage that narrative. Hey, I wanted to stay, but look, I waived my no-trade clause because why would you trade me? They wanted to trade me.
How can't you not see, though, if he leaves Cleveland without them getting anything in return?
He tried. He stuck it out. He said he was going back to win a title.
Everybody in Cleveland, and not everybody, but a lot of people feel like he's leaving.
Yeah, he's blamed it on Dan Gilbert. I'm not leaving. Dan Gilbert forced me out.
The reality is he's leaving, it appears. And so if Cleveland can get something back in return, wouldn't that be better than getting nothing? Because, again, Cowherd, his biggest fan, won't even say he's making the NBA Finals now. So we know, if he's lost Cowherd, you lost America.
Like Cronkite.
Right? So, look, I think the way to give back to Cleveland is to let them get something in value.
You think he cares about that?
No, he doesn't, and that's the problem. He's at war with Dan Gilbert and the Cleveland Cavaliers.
He doesn't give a rip. His whole thing is, okay, you're going to trade me? Where am I going?
Yeah.
He doesn't care about Dan Gilbert at all.
LeBron calls the shots. He decides where he goes, and he decides
you guys
who he's bringing with him.
Tell me, where would he go?
The Lakers.
Yeah.
The Lakers.
In the offseason, when he can bring somebody else.
Why go in the offseason? Go now.
Why? And miss the playoffs, Doug? Are you crazy?
Why?
He's been to the finals 7 years in a row.
Okay, so you're just staying for the Eagle. This thing is not fun. You could also, look, there's a million places you could go. Milwaukee, you could try and go to San Antonio and find a way with an expiring contract. It can be done with Houston to see what that is like. You could go to the Clippers and get into the playoffs and see if you like LA. But look, the point is what Jason's saying. There's two ways to go here. Either you force Dan Gilbert to trade that that top pick that you got from Brooklyn, right? And if you do so, you're going to leave nothing except bad contracts behind.
What?
But if you get traded, now all of a sudden you're going to leave. You're like, look, I left. They traded me, and I left them with their pick and with some other players in return.
Let me just throw this out there. I'm going to recalibrate here. You get to do this all the time. I get one time. Okay. Doug makes an interesting point. You go to Los Angeles. So if you're LeBron and you're like I'm going to get clobbered either by Boston or Golden State, it's a bad look. And
maybe Toronto.
Okay. So LeBron says, if I say trade me to L.A., everybody's going to give me a pass this year. Mm-hmm. So the rest of the year you'll say, hell, was a hell. He made the Lakers fun. Nobody's going to blame LeBron because you never know with LeBron. They may end up getting to the last seat. The Lakers are playing well. It's an interesting point.
And then smoked in the first round by the Warriors.
But you wouldn't blame him.
Who cares?
LeBron,
they're going to lose in the playoffs anyway.
Yes.
Luol Deng's contract. Luol Deng's still on the Lakers. That contract still exists.
So nobody, to Doug's point,
you get rid of all those bad contracts.
If you go to the Lakers, it's kind of like a fun retirement. I'm still in the league. I get no heat. By the way, Boston wins the East. I look even more valuable. It's a good brand play.
Are we forgetting that Kyle Lowry got hurt in the playoffs last year? The Cavs swept him. Kyrie Irving got hurt in the playoffs, I believe, 3 years ago with the Cavs. Things happen.
Jason,
LeBron's going to bail now.
You're still going to get killed in the finals.
Oh, yes, everybody's going to get killed in the finals.
But you don't have to go to the Lakers and you don't have to go to the finals.
Hold on. Here's the thing. It's not happening, as Jason said. It's not happening. The question is it a mistake to not happen, to shut down trade discussions? And I think it's a mistake to not at least offer up the possibility of, hey, let's see what's out there. Instead, now, I'm going to ride this thing out. This is going to end poorly. I think we all know that.
To the Lakers, who have been among frontrunners to land LeBron this offseason, but are now reportedly taking themselves out of the running, shifting their focus from this year's free agent class to next year's, which will feature like Kawhi Leonard and Klay Thompson. Well, look, are you buying, Jason, the Lakers won't pursue LeBron this offseason?
I'm buying the report. It's from Adrian Wojnarowski and Ramona Shelburne, two highly credible NBA reporters. So I'm buying the report. Can the Lakers change course and renege on whatever they've set out? Yes, they can. But here's what I really think is going on, and I'm going to get crucified for saying this. I think the Lakers are right now at this moment are like, you know what LeBron guarantees at this point in his career? A headache. That's what he guarantees. Championships? No, he does not guarantee. He's never guaranteed championships. He's won 3. Again, he reminds me of a modern-day Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain had too many gifts and was a little bit off and hard to deal with. LeBron James, a 6'9" version of Wilt Chamberlain, will never win as many championships as guys that are much more stable personality-wise. And so at 34 or whatever he is, 15 years in the league, whatever he is, I think the Lakers are looking at it and saying, I'm not sure if he's worth that trouble. He guarantees you a headache and some ticket sales, but championships, I'm not so sure.
Look, he did actually guarantee championships. Not one, not two, not three, right? So he did actually guarantee championships. Whether he delivers on them,
He delivered headaches every year.
Look, you and I agree on that, and I think that's what we're looking at here. If you look previously, LeBron's camp, okay, or what was coming out of LeBron's camp and being leaked through Brian Windhorst, another credible journalist, was, well, maybe look at Houston. Well, maybe look at Golden State. Well, maybe look here. Maybe, and what it is, this is just a leverage play. It's negotiating in the media. Because what LeBron wants is, LeBron wants his guys, LeBron wants his coach, LeBron wants his headaches, LeBron wants it his way. And the Lakers are like, look, we want you here, but we want you to join our organization. And that's why they're fighting this fight now. And if not, they'll be like, that's okay. We'll move on. Next year we get Klay Thompson, younger, better, and maybe Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi better, both from L.A., both would die to be Lakers.
LeVar Ball's already a massive headache. Now you add LeBron to it.
That's good. I do question the timing of this report. 2 days before the trade deadline, okay? I talked about this on your show last week. 3 weeks ago, all Houston Rockets and LeBron. Last week, Golden State and LeBron. This week, Lakers. Oh, we don't want LeBron. Something seems fishy. Who's planting all these stories? I think you're onto something, Doug. I do believe LeBron's camp is pushing all these agendas.
Okay, so Magic just got fined today for tampering.
Yeah, again.
Okay, again.
Okay, but, I mean, it's the most ridiculous tampering fine in the history of the league.
Whatever. But a week ago, I had somebody tell me Magic and LeBron have talked. Well, if I heard it, somebody in New York has heard it. And Magic's thinking, listen, I'm going to call Woj and Ramona, respected journalists, and I'm going to tell them, no interest. We got to cool this crap off. Because he already had one tampering. The day he got another. If word is out there and people are saying, like, Magic and LeBron camps are talking, and it comes back to Magic, he may have just wanted to cool this puppy off.
Yep.
And it's not bad, except for Magic got fined for tampering for saying that he thinks Giannis is going to put Milwaukee on the map.
No, it's still the second time, though. The first was Paul George,
like, I don't understand how that's tampering. You're saying that he's going to be in Milwaukee and win a championship.
No, but you're right. But he was fined $50,000. Is this just, who would you call if you wanted to get word out? You'd call Woj and maybe Ramona.
I wouldn't, because, again, the reporters that get played that easily are, generally speaking, a little bit lower on the totem pole. All right. And so Wojnarowski, as seasoned as they come. Ramona, very seasoned. Again, and I'm not saying they're not capable of being played or used by a source. But, again, if I'm sitting there, who can I get this story out there with? Those aren't the guys I'm looking to.
What has really hurt the LeBron negotiations that have yet to take place is the idea was we'll bring Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in because he's rep by Rich Paul. We'll overpay him, okay, for a year, keep that cap space, and then we're going to use that to get 2 stars. And the Kentavious Caldwell-Pope thing's been a disaster. He was out of shape. He had a DUI. Yeah. Hell, 26 days he was actually sleeping in a detention facility and then working for the L.A. Lakers with one of those things on his ankle. Yeah. Okay? And he's not a particularly great guy in the locker room. And, like, that's the guy who's supposed to bridge the gap between a former agent who's running the Lakers and a current agent for LeBron. And so, like, LeBron brings headaches. He wants his coach. And this is the Lakers going like, hey, you want to come here? Cool. You're going to do it our way. You're going to be a Laker. Otherwise, we don't want another Albert Pujols-like contract, an aging superstar, and we get the back end of the deal.
Already dealing with the LeVar headache. You add LeBron to the mix. I don't know.
Welcome back, Mark Schlereth, Eric Mangini here. Let's move to Indianapolis, where the Colts officially hired Josh McDaniels as their new head coach today. Not after some unexpected intrigue. Before the Super Bowl, the hiring was considered a done deal, but reportedly McDaniels hesitated to accept the job right after the big game. Rumors started flying he might be reconsidering. Whitlock, was it a mistake for the Colts to hire McDaniels anyway?
My gut says yes, just because Bill Belichick's assistants haven't done the greatest post-Bill Belichick. Josh McDaniels failed in Denver. And he had the other thing, I just don't like the hesitation he had. For whatever reason, he had some hesitation about accepting this job. There's only 32 NFL head coaching jobs. When you get offered one of them, I think you should be running to it. There should be no hesitation. And so, I'm not sold on this hire.
I love it. He gets Andrew Luck. He gets a competent GM. They get the number 3 pick, so you can give Luck that Texas left tackle or that Penn State running back. Little owner's a little loopy for my taste, but I like it a lot. Listen, very rarely does a coach get hired in the NFL or college and you know it's a slam dunk. Very rarely. Pete Carroll at USC, people were making fun of USC because he bombed in the NFL. Nick Saban bombs in the NFL, goes to Alabama. Did we think he would do this? Reality is Tom Coughlin, did anybody think he would do that with the Giants? From Boston College to Jacksonville? Very rarely do you have an Urban Meyer go to Ohio State and you're like, oh yeah, that'll work overnight. There's some questions here. Belichick got fired in Cleveland. Did you think this would happen?
I did. I knew.
Look, there has been no hesitation. The report about hesitation, to me, is overblown. They hired Matt Eberflus on January 17th from the Cowboys, which is Josh's defensive coordinator. This thing's been a done deal for a long time. The idea that he suddenly took a step back and said, oh, I don't know if I want to do this, it's so not true. And I think this is a great fit with Andrew Luck. And I think the fact that he took a day to let the Super Bowl marinate was a testament to him having enough experience to know that that's something you should do before you go to get your next job.
Good call.
Listen, one thing about Josh, and you talk to anybody who played for Josh, and I was covering the Broncos, I was out there at training camp every day. That guy has his team prepared. That guy is so sharp, and he is so in tune, and he'll tell you, he'll game plan, say this is exactly what they're going to do, and it happens 99.9% of the time. The issue that you get into when you're a first-time head coach is you kind of don't know what you don't know. And look at most first-time head coaches. Pete Carroll failed with the Jets, and Mike Shanahan got fired in Oakland. And most guys have that learning curve where it's the second opportunity once they go back as a coordinator, that second opportunity to say, I'm not going to let that happen again. And Eric and I have talked about this. When you coach underneath Bill Belichick, you can't help, I don't care who you coach underneath, you can't help but develop some of those tendencies and some of those mannerisms. And because that's who you learn from. And the issue that you get into, especially when you have a dominant guy like Bill Belichick, is you walk into coach your organization and your players want authenticity and they're looking at you like, wait a minute, dude, you ain't Bill Belichick. Slow down a little bit. And that's it's a really hard thing to get your own voice. And the second time around, I believe he'll have his voice. And so I think it's a great hire.
I might be.
You were wrong.
Time. All right, to a coach who just lost his job, former Raiders offensive line coach Mike Tice. After coaching in the NFL for more than 20 years, Tice actually says he is now likely to retire, explaining that players today no longer want to be coached. Cowherd, you buying any of this?
They don't want to be coached by him. I don't buy that. I mean, Belichick is a taskmaster. Players like Nick Saban, Coach Krzyzewski, most of those, Gino Auriemma. I mean, women that go to UConn basketball could go any place in the country. They choose the tough guy. Nick Saban gives 25
It's harder to coach, though, now. It is harder.
Oh, come on.
It's harder to coach.
By the way, players are smarter. They've been playing flag football since they were 13. They come in, high school coaching's better.
They're richer, more delusional. They're more addicted to social media. These young guys today, and again, I'm not taking Mike Tice, it's harder now. And so Mike Tice isn't good enough at this point. That's what he's saying. But it is harder. You got a group of players that are all into this anti-establishment movement, all into this anti-authority movement, and that's very hard to navigate. This guy had an offensive line that all wanted to protest the national anthem. He didn't buy into it, and I'm sure that got him off to a real rocky start with his offensive line this year. And so Mike Tice not good enough, but it is harder to coach now.
Well, after years of coaching the defensive backs, you realize you've got to adjust for different guys and different personalities. And the offensive line, I think, tends to be a more consistent personality group overall in a locker room. But dealing with DBs, you had to adjust. Do I think that players don't want to be coached? No, I think that they made the NFL because they're hyper-competitive. They want to find an edge. And it's your responsibility to show them that you can continue to help them improve. Is the way that you communicate with newer players or younger players going to be the same? No, as a coach as well, you have to evolve and adjust and try to find what's most effective.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Players want to be coached. I want to know that you're going to give me an opportunity to be great. Now, is it more difficult than it's been in the past? Probably. Is there more nuance involved? Yeah, probably. But ultimately, whether you're one of those screamer guys or whether one of you laid-back guys, and I've played for both types of coaches, I just want to be coached. I want to know we're going to have an opportunity to win. I want to know that we're going to be okay. And I think it comes down to this. I think it's like any job. Like, we're all in the relationship business. And if you're not in the relationship business, you know what you're doing? You're going out of business. And I don't care what form of work you're in. And you've got to be in that relationship. It doesn't mean we have to be buddies. Doesn't mean we have to be best friends. There's got to be some respect there. But I have to be able to communicate my point of view. And then you have to be able to take that and go out and see that it's successful. And if you can do that, then you can coach. And I don't care how old you are. I don't care how, established you are. If you can do that, players are going to rally around you.
Players are more distracted. Okay, so that makes them harder to coach. But the payoff's greater. As a parent, I can say, if you get A's, I'll give you an ice cream cone. But if I'm rich, I can say, get A's and I'll give you a Mercedes. Makes parenting easier. Isn't the motivation now for the player huge payoff?
It is. Look, I think Mike Tyson's situation is unique. 2 years ago, remember, they got one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Everybody was saying that. Mike Tyson was their coach. Comes back this year, his entire offensive line says they want to protest the national anthem, and the Raiders' offensive line has a terrible year, and it's because Mike Tice, I don't think, could connect with these guys and coach them. And so now he's bitter and no players want to be coached. No, it was your group of players. You ran into a unique situation. I agree with everybody. People want to be coached. All right, welcome back. Time for last call. Let's move to San Francisco, where the Giants announced they will retire Barry Bonds' jersey this season. Cowherd, the polarizing home run king, has been retired for 11 years. Are you surprised it's taken the Giants so long to retire his number?
No, I mean, this was an interesting relationship. He was a difficult player. He was Mr., steroid. That was his label for a while. This is something that I think that needed a relationship that needed time.
It needed time, but I remember him more as Mr. Sell Out the Stadium, Mr. Home Run King, Mr. I made them a bunch of money, sold a bunch of jerseys. I think that
was also part of it.
Yeah,
Listen, if it was just that, they would have retired this an hour after he.
No, I agree. They bowed to whatever people that are upset about steroids in baseball, and they took a cooling off period. But this is long overdue. Hats off to Barry Bonds. To Philadelphia, where the Eagles championship parade will be on Thursday. And the city has decided to close all the schools so everyone can attend.
Oh.
Cowherd, is it a good move to close school for this parade?
No. Have you seen all the fires and the chaos? They need more education in Philadelphia, not less. They have been ridiculous.
If I'm a kid and my team just won the Super Bowl, I ain't going to school anyway. So
your mom wouldn't make you go. Your mom watches this show.
No. Look,
she would let you stay home.
If the Pacers had won a championship when I was a kid.
No.
Yes.
Way.
Even right now.
Mrs. Whitlock, call him out, DM him, and.
Let me tell you this. If the Pacers win a championship or Ball State, football or basketball, I'll be skipping work. I'll be skipping everything.
Don't be surprised if your mom doesn't tell you to kick rocks on your DM today.
No.
That's it for us.
Philadelphia kids, enjoy your parade.